Our next story is about corruption. This is a global problem. It plagues a number of countries, but some more than others. Among those at the top of the list is Nigeria. Nigeria is Africa's most populous nation. It used to be Africa's biggest economy as well, but it has now slipped to fourth place. This slide is often linked to President Bola Tinubu, his economic policies and his reputation for corruption. Tinubu recently featured on a list, the list of the most corrupt leaders in the world. The winner was former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. He was followed by Kenya's William Ruto. But Tinubu made the top 5. Now I must clarify here that these rankings were sourced from the public. There wasn't a scientific formula involved. It was about public perception, and Tinubu is perceived to be extremely corrupt. So is his government. There are a number of reasons for this. Let me show you some of the latest examples, starting with the government. Nigeria has an anti-corruption agency. It is called the EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. This is Nigeria's watchdog. Its job is to tackle corruption, and technically they are doing that, but at home. Let's show you today's major headline. The EFCC has detained 10 of its own over some missing items. This statement was put out by the agency. You'll notice that they said some operational items could not be accounted for. Okay, that sounds like some missing equipment. But then the Nigerian press dug a little deeper, and it turns out that the operational items were jewelry and cash worth $350,000 to $400,000. What operations were they pulling off with all that jewelry? 10 EFCC officers were detained in Lagos. They are apparently answering questions. That is all that the commission has revealed. They haven't told the public who the corrupt officers are. I know it's innocent until proven guilty, but the very same commission usually does not follow this. They happily share the names of under trials, but suddenly the agency is shy about revealing the names of its own officers. And this has been quite a bad week for them. They were forced to make another announcement on Monday, telling the people that 27 other officers had been dismissed for fraudulent activities and misconduct. This is not a great look for Nigeria's anti-graft watchdog, and definitely not a good look for the Tinubu government. Bola Tinubu is 72 years old. He's been around for a while. He's a seasoned politician. So as you would expect, he has been linked to a number of scandals over the decades. One of the worst involved drug dealing. Tinubu allegedly held money from drug trafficking in his accounts. This was according to the US Justice Department. Tinubu, of course, never accepted the charges, but he did pay out a settlement worth $460,000. Now, these charges are old. No final verdict was reached. So let's put them aside for now. After all, people can supposedly change. So what has Tinubu been up to recently since he became president? Well, he was caught up in a fake diploma scandal for a while. There were allegedly some errors in his college certificate. Okay, mistakes happen, moving on. Then there was a major scandal involving a highway. Tinubu issued a $13 billion government contract to a company co-owned by his son. Tinubu is quite the caring father, apparently, but alas, most people do not see it that way. That is why he made it to the top 5 in the Corrupt Person of the Year award. The perception is quite prevalent, and reports say that he is quite vexed. He's even hired American lobbyists to clean up his image. He's reportedly paying them $2.7 million, though I wonder, is he paying from his own pocket or Nigeria's treasury? I suppose we'll find out eventually.
Let us see you. We are very prepared. We are very prepared. We are taking over. We are not here.
You will never do governance again. You will see political crisis. I will put fire in their states.
We are taking over.
Mr. President, the nation looks to you as the protector of our democracy.
I, Bola Tinubu, do solemnly swear.
And the people of Rivers State will hold you accountable if our democratic institutions face collapse under your watch.
You cannot continue to say you must be a godfather of the state. That's the problem. It's not possible.
Your silence on the activities of the Wike Group suggests a troubling complicity in actions that threaten not just the stability of Rivers State, but also the very foundations of a democracy and judicial system. Wike's group actions in Rivers State are not isolated incidents. The allegations are grave. They have been linked to electoral violence, political thuggery, and the use of state resources for personal gain, while openly boasting of their influence and grip on power. Even the judiciary has not been spared from alleged attempts to undermine its independence. History reminds us of the crisis Nigeria faced in the 1960s and 80s, crises fueled by political corruption, electoral fraud, and unchecked power that led to instability and violence. The cracks we see today, particularly in Rivers State, mirror those dangerous times. Your administration has the chance to prevent another era of chaos. Mr. President, your renewed hope agenda promises a break from the past, a fresh start for Nigeria. But how can we believe in this vision if the Wike Group's activities continue to erode the pillars of a democracy? The Nigerian people expect swift action from the highest office. The time to act is now. Take decisive steps to hold the Wike's Group accountable and put an end to the undemocratic practices that threaten to destroy all that we have worked for as a nation. We, the people of Rivers State, urge you to act in the national interest. Failure to do so may forever stain your legacy and plunge Nigeria into a deeper crisis. The world is watching, Mr. President, and so are the citizens of Rivers State. This message is from the Joint Action for Democracy.
How do you live in a country where you have a president, you have a first lady, you have the first son, you have the first daughter? The one family has basically... Have you not seen videos of Tinubu being given preference over ministers? Mr. Ibuka, in which serious country do you permit that? Because, to begin with, if you are going to use pipeline vandalization as an excuse to declare a state of emergency, I personally find the argument about whether the president can suspend a governor or not offensive. It is an argument that should never even be put forward. But whether there is a basis to declare a state of emergency, if it is pipeline vandalization, why is Governor of Bayelsa still in office? Because just 3 days after, pipeline was blown in Bayelsa. Since this president Tinubu became president, Nigeria has lost billions, if not trillions, due to vandalization of oil installations and due to the theft of oil in the Niger Delta. Why has the president not declared a state of emergency to remove? And by the way, does the governor control the pipeline? Is the governor the appointer of the Inspector General of Police? Is it the appointer of the Chief of Naval Staff? Is it the governor that awarded pipeline protection contract to Tombola and others? So this is an excuse that the president has manufactured in his head. And let us be more serious. Even if you are saying that because there is an insecurity in a state, you want to remove the governor. Mr. Ibuka, I'm talking to you. People are fleeing their homes in their thousands in Ondo State. The president has not declared state of emergency. As I'm talking to you, there is this crisis in Osun State. Communal crisis where people are running everywhere. The president hasn't even come out to say anything. In the north, people are being slaughtered. So if it is that once there's insecurity, you must remove the chief executive officer, Tinubu in fact should no longer be president. Well, the Nigerian judiciary is the Nigerian judiciary. It is not an American judiciary. It is not Congolese judiciary. It is not Zimbabwean judiciary. Judiciary existing in Nigeria is a reflection of the Nigerian society. Now, if you look at what has happened in Rivers State, let's even start from Parliament. I personally am not surprised. You have a man at the Senate who is the former governor of my state. I always say I can write a book in volumes about Godswill Akpabio. I don't want to discuss him today. But you have a National Assembly that almost all their members stood on their feet singing, "On your mandate, we shall stand. On the mandate, Bola, on your they are standing on Tinubu's mandate. The question is, what is that mandate? I had asked on this TV station. Is it a mandate of corruption? Is it a mandate of accountability? Is it a mandate to ensure that we have stable electricity? They are still standing on Tinubu's mandate. You know what makes this laughable? The Senate President is a lawyer, a senior lawyer for that matter. Section 11 of the Constitution is clear that where a House of Assembly cannot perform its legislative responsibilities, the National Assembly has the power temporarily to assume the legislative functions of the House of Assembly. But guess what, Mr. Ibuka? That same Section 11 says that where that is the case, they shall not have power to remove the governor or deputy governor. So assuming that the argument is even that the Rivers State House of Assembly is unable to function, okay, and National Assembly is to intervene, the Constitution says they cannot remove the governor. Now, guess what again? The administrator, sole administrator, I don't even know. I saw the, I don't know, because I mean, you are in entertainment, you are a big shot in entertainment. I did not see you. I know you are not a comedian that did not see all the Sabinos and the others in the villa when Tinubu was carrying out that comic display in the name of swearing in a sole administrator. You say you are swearing him in with which constitution? Which oath of office? Because under the constitution.
And he took office before the National Assembly. Even.
Before the National, he saw him on the city.
Yes, of course, it was predetermined. But I'm saying, which oath did he subscribe to? Is there enough oath for sole administrator under our constitution? And you are saying they have even now released, from what I read, about 400 billion that was withheld based on the judgment of the Supreme Court. Because you mentioned the judiciary. Supreme Court says that because the governor did not recognize the Amawele-led house, did not present the budget to them, therefore there is justification to withhold River State allocation. Now, Tinubu, in his broadcast to Nigerians, said that Fubara did not implement the decision of the Supreme Court. But in you now, wanting to claim you want to obey the constitution, you have gone ahead to remove the governor, remove the deputy governor, remove the house. You are now releasing the budget that Speaker of State should be withheld because there was no House of Assembly to a sole administrator after you have dissolved the same House of Assembly. So you see how they are making a mockery of our country. And Section 120 and 121 is clear that one kobo of the resources of a state cannot be appropriated, cannot be used without what is called an appropriation law. This Vice Admiral Ibok that has now been appointed as sole administrator, which budget is he going to implement with the money that has been released to him? This is an illegality that has been cooked in the villa, and I will even say it is a coup against the government of Rivers State, because the very idea of saying that you are suspending a House of Assembly of a state, you are suspending a governor of a state, is unheard of. It is totally unacceptable. There is no legal argument that can support this, and in any event, the governor has 4 years. He cannot be denied 1 hour of that 4 years, except for the circumstances that are earlier highlighted. So who is the president to say that he can sit in a villa, make a broadcast, and remove the governor? What stops Tinubu tomorrow from suspending the 36 state governors? All he needs to do is to manufacture a non-existent excuse. And that is why the Nigerian Bar Association, which I am a member, the current leadership led by exp0sɛd, has rightly deprecated what has happened. And I pray that the courts will intervene. Finally, when this happened in Plateau State, because you mentioned Plateau in 2004, people are saying, oh, Obasanjo did it. Who is Obasanjo? A military general? Who did they appoint? General Chris Ali, that was appointed in Plateau State. Ebuka, I want you to ask those who are listening, why is it that when a sole administrator is appointed, there is always someone with a military background? Because the very idea of appointing a sole administrator in a democracy is a product of the military, is a product of dictatorship. Now, when that matter went to the Supreme Court, unfortunately, the Supreme Court lost an opportunity to pronounce on it on technical grounds, saying that as at the time Dariye brought that action, or authorized the bringing of that action, the man who was sole administrator did not give consent to it. That is why Fubara cannot go to the Supreme Court. But why has Fubara not gone to the Federal High Court to challenge it? Because it looks like we're even crying more than they believe. I look at him today, coming out of the church in Port Harcourt. He's still smiling, wearing white. In his broadcast, he was still saying, in his statement, he was still saying, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Tinubu has removed him from office. Fubara should become a man and begin to speak like a governor of a state. And it is very embarrassing that the 36 state governors are now becoming poets. They issued give Nigerians poetry to read, that they cannot intervene in a partisan matter. The South governors are divided. It shows it what we call complete state capture. That all institutions in our country today have been viciously captured. That you cannot find a single person, a single institution that is able to stand up and reprimand this president for what he has done. And when Nigerians went to protest during the end bad governance, they were charged for treason, for carrying Russian flag. And some of them were asking the military to take over. Today, Tinubu has handed over River State to the military. Because the man that is sole administrator is a member of the military, even though he has resigned. And look at the man. He said he wants to restore law and order. Before he was appointed, were schools on fire? Were churches not functioning in River State? Were civil servants not going to work? What is the law and order that you want to restore? This is an illegality that Tinubu has bettered. And Nigerians have a responsibility to oppose it. It sickens me that this party, APC, that came to power through protest, you recall the Occupy Nigeria movement, the role that they played. Suddenly today, protest has become a treasonable act. This is our country. We cannot run away. How do you live in a country where you have a president, you have a first lady, you have the first son, you have the first daughter? The one family has basically, have you not seen videos of Tinubu being given preference over ministers? Mr. Ebuka, in which serious country do you permit that? Have you seen the convoy that Tinubu moved around? Have you seen the convoy of the president and the senate president? These people are taking us for a ride. They believe Nigerians are conquered people. It is left for us to determine whether we will permit this or not. But we have to begin to demand systemic and drastic changes in the way things are done. And it is because they are not afraid, Ebuka. They claim that they have approved the so-called emergency. The constitution says you need 2/3. Mr. Ebuka, there is no journalist in Nigeria, nobody in Nigeria today can give you the number of senators that voted in favor of the emergency. Why? Because it was by voice vote. How do you determine 2/3 by voice? People just screaming a year. How do you determine 2/3 of that? How do you determine 2/3 by voice? It has to be by head count. So the National Assembly embarrassed itself. The National Assembly has abdicated its responsibility, and that is why I say that what we have now is a case of parliamentary redundancy. They have become redundant. They no longer realize the responsibilities that they have, and it is painful because when the military struck, only the judiciary was preserved. Normally they will attack the dissolve the executive, dissolve the legislature, and now use ouster clauses to limit the powers of a court. But the judiciary is always standing. But these lawmakers, so-called lawmakers, that are saying that on Tinubu's mandate they must stand, they did not even have the decency to allow for a head count, to even say, oh, we want to legitimize the legality. The fact that there was no head count, that we cannot say how many members of the House of Reps voted for the emergency, we cannot say how many senators voted, it shows you how decayed, it shows you how flawed our governance system is. And that is why the people must make up their minds whether they want to live as slaves or they want to live as citizens. Because what is happening today, quite sadly, is looking at as if Nigerians are being treated as slaves in their own country. And it pains me that you couldn't have even one senator, not even the Senate minority leader, not the minority whip, not even one. The serial critics in former Governor Bayelsa that even tried to speak, he had to work out with the Baribe and others. Opposition is dead in the National Assembly. Opposition is dead in our country. The same thing in the House of Reps. It is very shameful. It is very shameful that this is the situation that we have found ourselves. And I want to disagree with him. Tinubu is not a Democrat. You know, in mass communication, there is what we call proper labeling. I don't know where Tinubu said he's a Democrat. If he had claimed to be a Democrat in the past, his assumption of office as president and his actions has shown that contrary to what he has said, this is a full dictatorship. So they are not pretending to be Democrats. They know they are not Democrats. Tinubu himself knows that he's not a Democrat. No Democrat will wake up and say you are removing a democratically elected governor from office.